review. What are the protocols of systematic literature review? Then we move on to defining the research scope. How do I get a topic? Where do I start? I most of the times meet a lot of people that says that I don't know what I'm researching into. So we'll look at how do I develop a research topic? Then we move on to searching. So in the research topic, we also look at the systematic review process. What are the process? Now that I have a topic, what process do I have to go through? And then we'll come to searching and selecting relevant literature. There are so many publications out there with regards to the topic that you've chosen. How do you make the best out of these numerous publications? And then we go to data extraction and then synthesizing. So how do I extract the necessary data, the important data from these selected research papers that I've decided to add in my literature review? Then we go to the data analysis. Of course, we talk about quality, very important screening, quality assessment. We want to know, how did you ensure that you were not biased towards the papers you selected? Are you not sure you are trying to select papers of your friends and try to make them popular by citing them? We want to know what all this, and then we go to the reporting, putting all these the findings together and presenting your report. Throughout, we'll be looking at hands-on. So it will be activities. If anything, any stage, I'm going to give you an activity. We do it together, and then we move on to the next stage. And then we will look at addressing common challenges in systematic literature review, open the thought for platform for Q&A, and then final thoughts on that. So by the time of this presentation, by the time you leave here, you should be able to differentiate between various types of literature review. So what is a systematic literature review? What is narrative literature review? What is bibliometric literature review? Explain the importance of systematic literature review. Why do we say, why are a lot of people doing systematic literature review? What is the importance of it in the academic research? Particularly its transparency, its reproducibility, and its objectivity. And then we'll also look at apply systematic review protocols. So what are the protocols that involves in systematic literature review? We'll be looking at defining research questions using popular frameworks like the PICO and then the SPIDER frameworks. Then we go to development and implement structured search queries. So we try to use Boolean operators, truncation, and then synonyms to try to see if we can get some amount or voluminous amount of literature that relates with the topic that we are researching into. Then point 5, we establish what inclusion is, what is exclusion is. How am I going to screen these papers? What am I looking for in those papers that I'm going to say that this paper does not fit into my work, or this paper does fit into my work? Then we go to what? The Prisma framework. That is what we use. It is a flow chart that is going to help us to understand how we do the selection and how we report. Then we go to what? After the next, reducing the paper to the paper that we want to include in our systematic literature review. The next is to conduct the qualitative and the quantitative data analysis. How do we utilize thematic analysis, meta-analysis, and coding techniques? And then we assess the quality of the selected paper. So all these skills listed here, you should be able to perform them, do them, understand them, talk about them by the end of this presentation. So as Professor Dekoya has already introduced me, my name is Isaac Kofi. You can feel free and call me Kofi if you want. I'm from Ghana, yes, and started my academic journey with Sunyani Tenkara University, and then move on to University of Energy and Natural Resource, and now I'm with University of Cincinnati. I said I am a proud alumnus of Cali University, and Professor Dekoya is my PhD advisor. He mentored me. I remember when he was pushing me through research those days, and it wasn't it. And I give all the thanks. I thank him for what the time and the knowledge he did invest in my life. So I will ask that we take some time just to know ourselves. In the chat, you can feel free put in the chat where you're connecting from. Tell us a little about your name. Maybe your first name is okay, and tell us your discipline. Maybe IT, computer science, business administration. Yes. So please feel free and share with us in the chat. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing I want to ask is what is literature review? So when we say literature review, what do we refer to, or what do we mean by literature review? So literature review simply is a structured summary of existing research on a topic. So if I say I have conducted a literature review on, let's say, machine learning application in education, what I have done is that I have performed a structured word summary. And when the word structured comes in, then it means that it follows what? Some systematic approach. Then once it follows a systematic approach, then it means that it is reproducible, right? Okay. And why do we have to perform literature review? There are so many reasons why we want to perform literature review. The first one that we normally want to do is knowledge of existing research. I just want to know what has been done, what is going on. I am interested in AI in education. What is currently trending in that field? What are people looking into? And if I want to know what people are looking into in this field, then I have to conduct a literature review. Then also, we want to what? Establish what? A rationale. I always tell people that, hey, what do you want to do? Do you think that there is a gap in what you want to do? Do you think that somebody have not solved what you want to do? Very important. And then, so when we are able to what? Establish that there is a gap, then there is no duplication. Why do we have to reinvent the wheel if the wheel is already invented and you cannot provide or produce a better one than what exists? So you do the literature review so that you don't what? Replicate what has been done already without improvement. Because if there's no problem, there's no research. So it is very important. Then also identifying the methods. So you have an idea, but what are the best methods that are applicable to that idea? Then you have to conduct what? A systematic literature review. And then also it helps you in framing your research questions. Because if you know what has been done and you know the gap that exists, it will influence how you draft or you formulate your research questions. So it's very important. And also, it also helps in building on previous work. So you don't need to start from scratch. If you do a comprehensive literature review, you will know that, okay, something has been done to this level. So if I want to do something, I can stand on what exists and jump. So I don't need to start from what? Scratch. Very important. And then what? It helps you to recognize controversies and debate. It helps you to know what are the debates in the field, what are some of the controversies that is going on, the topic discussions that is going on. So where do some researchers stand and where do others also stand? It's very important. And then identifying what the gap. So there are several ways, and also strengthening credibility, because you are claiming that something has not been done. What is the proof? So if you have a complete literature review, it will serve as what? A proof, and it will make your claim more credible. So let's see the types. So we have the traditional what? Literature review, or what they call the narrative. They just summarize the existing research with no strict methodology. So there's no systematic approach of doing it. So it makes it very difficult to reproduce the work when it's done. Then we have what we call the systematic what? Review, which we are interested in today. This follows what? Structured and reproducible process. So with this one, we lay down the steps. Every step that you took in your research is well documented, and we have what? Well acceptable process that you have to follow. So with this approach, it identify, it evaluate, and then synthesize the relevant what? Studies. And remember that when you talk of systematic literature review, then it means that that particular review is reproducible. Someone can sit somewhere, follow all the instructions that you've outlined in your research, and the person can reproduce your work. If I cannot reproduce your work, then it is not a systematic literature review. Then we have what? Bibliometric what? Review. With bibliometric, it uses what? Statistical method to analyze research impact and trends. For example, who are the trending researchers in the field of AI? Which institution is publishing more in the field of what? AI. So this uses bibliometric data, and bibliometric data can be the authors, it can be number of citation, it can be the institution that the author is affiliated with. It can also be the grant, or where the publication was sponsored from, the country. All these can be used to analyze. So when we are using these data, bibliometric data, to analyze and make conclusions like number of citation analysis, co-citation, who cited who cited what, and trying to draw network map, then we are talking about what? Bibliometric what? Literature what? Review.
And capacity building initiatives. While we work hard to fix the economy and provide jobs in all sectors, including agribusiness, one of the biggest crises we face in this country is youth unemployment.
Yeah. So systematic literature review. So let's move deep into systematic literature. So as already pointed out, systematic literature review is rigorous and comprehensive approach. Very rigorous, comprehensive. So you can't just pick 5 papers, 10 papers, 15 papers, 20 papers, 50 papers, and you say you've done systematic literature review. It has to be comprehensive. Look into the paper, read the paper very well. It's not just a summary. And you are trying to identify, evaluate, and synthesize existing what? Research studies on a specific topic. And it follows a predefined systematic process. So it has what? Predefined process that is well accepted, that every systematic literature review should follow. So when I'm reviewing your systematic literature review, my first point I try to see is the author following the laid down procedures or protocols for systematic literature review. It is objective, it is transparent, nothing is hidden, because remember, it has to be reproducible. So if you hide anything, if you do anything and you don't document in your work, it might not be what? Reproducible. Someone cannot reproduce the same work. So it is very important to have these things in your head when you try to conduct a systematic literature review. Very important. So why systematic literature review? Systematic literature review ensures what? Transparency and reproducible. So when somebody say, I've done a systematic literature review, and he followed the procedure protocol, anyone, anywhere in the world can pick that paper, run the same process, and he should get the same results. If I don't get the same results, something is wrong. Either the author did not report everything, The author was not transparent, or the author did not follow the laid down procedures. And also, it minimizes bias and improves what? Research, because there are laid down procedures that you have to follow. So you don't just sit down and craft your own thing and try to apply it to gear the research towards maybe your friends or your colleagues' publications. And it helps also identifying research gap and new directions. And it supports evidence-based decision. Very important, because it is rigorous, because it is transparent, because it is reproducible. We can make decisions based on the findings. So let's look at what the various steps in systematic review protocols. The first is to define the research questions. Very important. We'll look at how to define the research questions. And then from there, we move on to developing the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Which papers will I close my eyes when I see them? And which papers will I open my eye when I see them? So what qualifies a paper to be included in my research? These are your own defined criteria and terms that you have to lay out. And then we conduct a structured search in multiple databases. Try to search different databases so that we can get a quite general overview of the various research that is going on. And then screen and select relevant studies using the Prisma flow diagram. And then the last is to extract, analyze, and synthesize your findings. So these 5 steps, if you follow these 5 steps, your research can always be reproducible. So every systematic literature review should follow these steps. So I'll ask, what are your inclusion exclusion criteria? How did you arrive by this criteria? Which database did you use? Why did you use this database and not the other one? Why did you drop these papers? Very important. So let's move on to the step 1, defining the research questions. We will use the PICO and the SPIDER framework. So to me, this is what I always tell my students, that if you want a research topic, start from a research area or area of interest. So somebody come, I want a research topic. No. First thing, what is your area of interest? Very important. What do you want? What areas do you find fascinating? Is it in education and technology? Is it in computer visions? It's very important. Why? Because if you are working in an area of interest, it sustains motivation. You like it, you are working on it. So it's not like your supervisor have given you the topic to work on it, but you don't like it. Very important. Then it also deepens your understanding, because you are starting from what area of interest means that you have some prior knowledge in those areas. Very important. So start with what? Interest. Then also relevance and contribution. If you select a topic that is more related in your area of interest and expertise, you are more likely to contribute valuable findings than an area that you don't have any knowledge there. So, for example, I am a computer scientist. I am in the field of computer science, IT, and then I wake up and I say I'm doing a research on agricultural products. I don't have any knowledge in those places. I cannot contribute effectively. I cannot effectively critique the papers that have been published in those areas. Very important. And then also networking and collaboration. When you work in the field of interest, it helps you to collaborate with experts. Because let's say if you reach out to me and you're working in my field of interest, I'll be willing to collaborate with you. So it is very important. One, if I want to collaborate with you, I will ask, are you also in my field of interest? If not, I don't need collaboration in that area yet. So it is very important to start from your area of interest. Then you move on. So from an area of interest, let's assume that my area of interest is AI in education. This is very broad. I have to find a subfield. So I can say that AI in student assessment. So AI in education is broad. It can be AI in AI for teachers what enhancement, or teachers AI for course development. AI in education is broad. It can be AI for student assessment. Yeah, it can be AI for different things in education. So your first thing is your area of interest. I want AI in education. Good. But then narrow it down. What specific area in education are you interested in? So we can narrow down and say AI in student what? Assessment. Now we identify the problem. So after we've been able to narrow it down, we try to look at what is the problem? AI in student assessment. Probably I want to look at bias and effectiveness in AI for grading. So maybe people have started using AI to grade student work. I want to find out maybe the bias and the effectiveness of adapting AI models in the grading. So you see, I'm still breaking it down. Then I try to formulate the research topic. Then I can say ethical and practical challenges of AI in student assessment. So if you look at it, I started first with the broader area. I narrow it down to assessment. And then I narrow it down. What am I looking for in respect to the assessment? I'm looking at bias, so ethical, effectiveness, practical challenges. So we are breaking it down. So if I'm defining my research questions, I'll look at effectiveness, bias, equity, perception. Okay, now let's see how we can apply the PICO and then the spider in formulating. Now we've gotten the area that we want to research. We are getting the topic. We're trying to get the research questions. And now let's move on. So if you don't want to, if you are the type that for like, hey, I don't have an area. Okay, hands up. Please unmute yourself and you can.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Please, I wish every participant will, as you are presenting, every participant will developing something in their areas, so that at the end of the day, they will be able to show something that they have learned from the participation. Thank you.
Yeah, there are activities there after everything. After going through, I'm going to give them activity to do, and they will submit it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Yeah, thank you. So you are the type also, you feel like you don't have any area in your head now. You came blank. Where do I start from? Then I would say review current literatures. Go and pick systematic literature reviews that have been done in your area and start reading them. Or talk to your educators, talk to other students, discuss something, try to find what are the challenges, talk to your professors. Also, you can follow emerging trends. So you don't have anything. So for me, I'm going to do research on emerging trends. So I'm going to look at what are the emerging trends that are going on in technology. Finish. So ChatGPT is there, adaptive learning is there, AI ethics in education. These are all hot topics that is going on. So you can start from there. Or go for conferences, peer reviews, read journal publication, talk to professors, industry professionals, and you get a topic. So all these are also alternative ways that you can use to arrive at your research topic. Okay. So now let's assume that after going through the bigger picture of AI in education, I have arrived on a topic that I entitle a systematic literature review on the application, impact, challenges, and future trend of artificial intelligence in education. So look at how the topic has been framed. Look at how we started from education. Look at how we narrow it down to assessment. Look how we narrow it down to bias and effectiveness. And now I have a topic here. Systematically, I have arrived at a topic with a broader what view. Okay, so now exercise, activity. So everybody within a space of 3 minutes or 5 minutes maximum, get a research area of your interest and formulate a topic and share your topic in the chat. So formulate it, put it on a Word document, but paste the topic in the chat and keep a copy of your Word document we will use to develop other stages as we proceed. So I'll be waiting, monitoring the chat, and waiting for your input. So we have 5 minutes break.
Working break.
Yes, working break. So, thank you all for those who shared their topics. I've seen the topics through pinning. These are interesting topics. Some might need a little modification, but some your topics are very interesting. Carbon stock dynamics in North Pattern of Ghana using cellular automata and remote sensing approaches. Sustainable procurement practice. Okay. Okay. Thank you all for sharing. Keep that. We'll move ahead and then we try to derive research questions from it as we try to move ahead and try to derive research questions. If you feel like, oh, you need to make a modification to your topic, feel free, make modification to those topic and keep them for next activities. Please, everyone should try and participate. I can see we have 21 participants, but if I look in the chat, I don't see 21 topics through pinning. So I want everybody to be part of what we are doing so we can share ideas. And also feel free to look at your colleague's title. If you see something that you think you can draw his or her attention to, feel free and comment on that. We want a collaborative environment so that we all contribute. Okay, so let's move on. The next thing is that after getting your topic, we have to what? Formulate research questions. And we're going to use the PICO and then the spider approach. It is effective. These two frameworks are very effective in formulating your research questions. And keep it in mind that if you're formulating your research questions, you have to clearly define these questions or objectives of the literature. It has to be clearly in the work. Clearly. Nobody needs to struggle before the person knows what the research question of this paper or what the research objective of the paper is. If I read a paper and I'm struggling to find the objective or the research question, clearly at that point I read the paper down, because we don't need to suffer to know what you want to solve, the problem you want to solve, what questions you are asking. So it has to be there. And then keep it in mind that you have to ensure that the question or objective is specific, it is focused, and it's what? Answerable or achievable. So if it is objective, it is achievable. If it is a question, it can be answered. So not too broad, make them specific. So let's see how we can use these two approaches in formulating. So the PICO has the P stands for population or problem. And normally the PICO is used for clinical research questions, especially in quantitative studies. The P is the population, the group of the people or the group or the problem being studied. So if I'm applying the PICO outside, maybe let's say if I'm applying the PICO in machine learning in education, then probably maybe education, I want to specifically say higher education, or if I make it big as education, then it can be the population can be universities, can be secondary schools, can be primary schools, and then the rest. Then we come to what? The I, which is what? The intervention, the exposure, that's the treatment intervention or the factor being examined. Then the C is a comparison, the alternative to the intervention. The O is the outcome. So let's see, for example, does mindfulness meditation reduce anxiety in college students compared to no intervention? In this way, the P becomes college students with anxiety. So they become the population. And then the intervention or the exposure will be what? Mindfulness meditation. And then the C, what we are comparing to will be what? No intervention. And then the outcome will be what? Reduction in what? Anxiety level. Now, let's see the spider. The spider is also an alternative to the PICO. It is often used for qualitative and mixed method research. So, once I say this, then you know that it is best for what? Systematic literature review. It focuses on broader aspects like the study design and evaluation. So the S stands for the sample, the target population. The PI stands for the phenomena of interest, the experience, the behavior, the topic being explored. And then we have what the D, the design, the type of study or methodology. And then the E, the evaluation, which also the outcome being measured or the themes being observed. So if you try to observe the thematic discussion in a particular research area, then the R, the research type, the study methodology, is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? Or is it what? A mixture approach. So let's see an example here. We have a research question say, how do students perceive online learning during the pandemic? We all know the pandemic that hit the world. If I want to research, maybe I want to formulate a research question and research in this area, and I want to use the spider, I can formulate a research question like, how do students perceive online learning during the pandemic? And in this case, the sample side will be what? University students. It can be if I'm looking at let's say training college students. I'm looking at second cycle institution or higher high schools. The population can be there, but if I'm so know the population that you are interested in, and then the PI will become what? Online learning experience. The online learning experience. So then the D will be the survey and interventions. And then the E will be student perception. And the last one will be what? The qualitative. So now, with this in mind, let's go ahead, put this into practice, pick the topic I picked, and then let's see how I will formulate my research questions based on the topic I showed you. So let's go back to the topic to refresh our memory, and then we can move to the topic, a systematic literature review on the application, impact, challenges, and future trends of artificial intelligence in education. So let's see how I apply this, Pico and Spider. So this is my first research questions. How are AI technologies applied in different educational settings? And what are their primary focus? Now, different educational settings, different. So my sample size will be educational institution, schools, university, online learning platform. They are all different educational settings. Then the phenomenon, the interest. What is my interest? Application of AI in education. You can see it is reflecting in the question. Then the design, literature review. It can be case studies, expert interviews. In this way, I am adapting literature review. Then the next, evaluation, identification of AI application. Where are they applying them to? Maybe in adaptive learning, intelligent tutoring, automated grading. The research method can be qualitative, mixed method. And normally in research, in systematic literature review, is a mixture of the two. Then the next research question, what are the perceived benefits and challenges of integrating AI technologies into educational environment. And if you looked at this, again, the sample size is what? Educational institute. Because the benefit can be to the institute. Integrating AI can be beneficial to college university, can be beneficial to the university you are attending. It can also be beneficial to the student. Likewise, the teachers, and likewise, the administrators. Then, the phenomenon, adaptation of AI in education, are called the design literature review. The evaluation is the benefits. It can include personalized learning, tailored learning. So efficiency, the challenges, data privacy, teacher replacement concern. People feel like when AI is introduced into the academic setting, some teachers will be replaced. And then the research type. The next question, what are the observed effects of AI implementation on teaching methodologies and student learning experience? So you can see that with all these research questions, I'm using the spider approach to formulate it. So when I map your research questions to the spider, I will see what is the sample size, what is the phenomenon of interest, what is the design, how is the evaluation going to be, and what is the research type. Very important. Then, what are the emerging trends and potential futures advancement in AI-driven education technology? And again, you can see that the spider is applied here. So here, the AI researchers, educators, policymakers, educational tech companies, they will be the sample size. Okay. Now, I can use this the spider to formulate specific objective for each of my research questions. So for example, for research question 1, how are AI technologies applied in different educational settings, and what are their primary functions? I can go to to systematically identify and categorize existing AI applications in education. 2, to analyze AI implementation across different educational levels. Don't forget, because we say that the different educational levels. For example, K-12, higher education, and online education. Then, the third objective will be to synthesize findings on the primary roles and functions of AI in education based on existing studies. So if you put all these 3 objectives together, it effectively answers the research question 1. So if I can adapt only research question 1 as my research question, and then these 3 can be my objective. I can decide to add research question 1 and 2, and I'll add the objective listed for research question 2 as part of my objective. So first, formulate your research questions. Don't forget, start with the area of interest. Get a research topic. Apply known framework to formulate your research questions. When you formulate the research questions, you can also formulate your objectives. Very important. So if you look at research question 2 also, I've put down 3 objectives: to systematically review literature on the benefit of AI in teaching, learning, and administration, and to identify common challenges and barriers to AI adaptation in education. So it goes on for research question 2, 3, and 4. Like the same approach, I break it down to formulate my objective. Remember, when these specific objectives are put together, they will answer the research question in total. Very important. So Breakout 2, activity 2. Now you have your topic. The next thing, everybody must formulate 2 research questions based on your topic in activity 1 using the spider framework and share in the chat. Remember the notes I'm using, I've already shared in the chat. If you joined after I shared, I can also share it again so that you can have access to it and you can follow. So I'm giving another break of 5 minutes with exercise. Feel free, work on yours, and let me know, share in the chat when you're done. I'm sharing the link again. Okay. So what I want you to do is that everybody taking this workshop, don't just be here on online but not present here. Don't just put on your machine and be doing other things. The last time we had this workshop with other institutions, most of the students published their papers. And if you follow what I'm doing, by the time you're done, you've gotten a clearly defined focused research question, research topic, and you can lead to a systematic literature review, and you can send me a link to look at it and review it for you. So take part and make it a point that you are getting something out of it. You are making a publication out of this seminar, not just at the end of the day you say, I attended the seminar. What did you get out of the seminar? Very important. So another 5 minutes, everyone. So thank you all for sharing. I'll look at one case and we'll brainstorm it together. So I'm looking at the first case that said the research question is, what are the most common deep learning based methods applied for breast cancer detection? And the other one is, what is the most effective deep learning uh, based method for breast cancer detection in terms of performance, right? Okay, so the first thing that I want us to look at is the first research question, which is what are the most common deep learning based method applied for breast cancer detection? It is clear, it is clearly defined. The focus is on deep learning, don't forget, and then breast cancer. So it's well defined. We can talk of the population as is looking at, in terms of the models, you're looking at deep learning, and also, but what can be done about it? If you look at it very careful, we can talk about the evaluation criteria. So if you look at it, uh, we can't find the evaluation criteria, but we can modify it. I did a modification, then we can say that, for example, what are the most commonly used deep learning architecture for breast cancer? So I have narrowed down to deep learning architecture for breast cancer detection across imaging modalities. So it is trying to narrow down, try to uh, is the person going to use a text data set, or the person going to use image analysis for the breast cancer detection? This makes it more clear. And then the second one was what is the most effective deep learning method for breast cancer detection in terms of performance? So the focus is on comparative evaluation, which is very good. Um, and but then the question I ask myself is, what is the researcher? What does the researcher means when they refer to most effective? It doesn't mean diagnostic accuracy or computational efficiency or the model interpretability. So is it less computation that you refer to if most effective, or it is accuracy that you are referring to most effective, or the model's ability to interpret the model interpretability, clinic physicians being able to understand the model output is what you are referring to as most effective. So we can reshape it and say which deep learning architecture achieves the highest diagnostic accuracy for breast cancer. So it means that I am concentrating on what? Diagnosis accuracy across maybe publicly available data sets. Very important. Some modules might be okay, high in some cases, but you see another studies that the module was not high. It could be that it is the effect of the data. So you want to be specific that the models are performing high on probably accurate public available data or whatever. So you try to make this thing. So use the PICO and then ask yourself that in my research question, where is my spider? Where is my S? Where is my PI? Where is my D? Where is my E? And where is my what? R? Very important. So when you set the research question, try to identify your P, your S, try to identify your PI, try to identify your D, your E, and what? Your R. Okay, so now let's move on. So now we have the research questions. So we go to what? Carrying out the review. And for systematic literature review, we use what we call the Prisma. diagram, or people say the Prisma flow diagram. So it is a flow diagram that shows the flow of information in a systematic review or meta-analysis. It tells us how the researcher identified the papers, methods, ways the person used to identify the papers, the number of papers they got at the initial download, and how they screen. So identification, methods for the identification. Did you identify the papers from traditional public outlet like newspapers? Or did you identify the papers from your articles from maybe known databases like Scopus, like IEEE, like Web of Science? What was the total number? Very important. So want to know the normal academic journals database, the number of people you got from there, other resources that you also applied, or maybe published papers, unpublished papers that you included. So when you put all together, what was the total records after removing duplicates? So identification. Then we come to screening. In the screening, you can screen several stages. You can decide to screen based on titles. You can decide to screen after titles. You can decide to screen based on abstract. Remember that at this stage, you've not started reviewing the paper. You are screening. And you screen the paper with your inclusion and exclusion criteria. So what is the number of paper that were excluded in the screening process? We want to know. So tell us the total number of papers that were excluded. We want to know. And then from that, we come to the papers that are eligible. Remember, I said the screening can be several phases of screening. So after removing all the papers that were eligible for your work, how many papers were eligible? Then, again, the papers that were eligible, how many did you remove again? For example, after screening and then having my eligible papers, I observed that 5 of those papers are literature reviews. They are eligible. They will be in my reference list, maybe to support some stages in my work, maybe the introduction. But when it comes to the analysis of the paper, the inclusion where I want to do analysis, I will exclude them from the analysis. So identify. Could you question, please?
Yeah, sorry to come in. Your slides are not showing. You might want to take a look at it.
Oh, thank you. Let me show again. Showing now.
Yes, yes,
All this while.
yes, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so identification process, the number of papers you are trying to, the number of papers identified from academic journals, known published house, those ones that you pick them that were not in the journal, newspapers from the library, unpublished papers, all those things. Come to the screening. First phase of screening. Screen the papers based on probably the titles, or people start based on keywords. Then they go to title screening. Then they go to abstract screening. Then eligibility. So after screening, these are the papers I have. They are eligible for my work. But then those eligibility papers, some can also be removed due to some reasons. You have to state what were the reasons why you did remove those papers. And then conclusion. the number of papers that were finally used in your quantitative and qualitative analysis of your work. Okay, so I will move on. The next step. So now we know that we have our research questions. The next step is to lay down our inclusion and exclusion criteria. So you have to define what will make a paper qualified for you to include in your work, and what will lead to a paper being exempted from your work. You have to tell us. Remember, we say it's a systematic approach. It is reproducible. So what factors did you consider before a paper was included? And what factors did you consider before a paper was excluded? So you have to define them. So for example, I can define my work and say, sorry, for a paper to be included in my work, it has to be peer-reviewed journal paper or a conference. So in my work, papers that are not published, preprint, I'm not going to include them. You can give justification why you don't want to include preprint. Probably you feel that preprint, the papers are not in their final stages and changes can be there, so you cannot make decisions based on that. You can. Then you move on and say, I don't want to include papers that are very old. So probably only papers that were published from 2015 to now. But when you're doing a systematic literature review, it is always appropriate to include most current studies. Some people say the best approach is papers that are not more than 5 years old. So now we are in 2025. So I'm looking for papers from 2020. If I want to go down, maybe 2021. Why? Because we want to look at the current trend so that we don't reinvent the wheel. If you go for studies that are too old, the problem probably might have already been solved. Then I will decide to include papers that are written in English. Why? Because I can only read and write in English, not in any other language again. So I'm interested in papers that are, in English. If you can read in Spanish, if you can read in Chinese, if you can read in any other language, Portuguese, French, then you can include those studies. Then studies with what? Full text available. Sorry, excuse me. Probably you don't have your institution. Sorry. I'm sorry. Probably your institution don't have access to full text. It means that you cannot get the paper if it is not open access. So you want to stick to only papers that the full text is available openly. So you have to justify why you want to stay to that. You need to list all this in your work. We want to see them. Remember, it is reproducible. Then research focus. I'm looking for papers that only applied AI in education. So if a paper is applying AI in customer retention, AI in automation, AI in smart energy system, I'm not interested in. It is only papers that has the focus on application of AI in education. Application papers, not studies that are developing AI models, no, but those that have applied AI in education, very important. Then studies that are discussing the challenges, the benefits, the future trends. So you have to outline all these criteria, and in some cases, you have to justify them if you think that a criteria is controversial. Very important. Then you go to what? Exclusion. So non-educational AI research, I'm going to exclude them. Non-peer review source, I'm going to exclude them. Like preprint, blog posts, people's opinion, white papers, I'm going to exclude all of this from my research. Then older studies. So if I say I want to pick studies from 2015, then I'm going to drop every study that was published before. Then non-English papers, studies with what? Without full text. There are some studies I only get the abstract. If I want to download it, I have to pay. I don't have the money to pay. My school cannot give me what? Free access. I drop them. And then duplication. I've seen several papers that were published in conference, and the same paper, a little modification is on it, and then they publish in that journal. You don't see any high differences between those two papers. Duplication, overlaps. You can decide to drop all of them. And I've seen papers too that have been published twice in different areas. So all this, you have to lay them down. Then the next is what? You conduct your search. So now I've defined my criteria. I'm moving on to my search. You have to conduct a search across multiple databases. But first, keywords that you're going to use for your search. So in my topic, for example, that I picked, I'm going to use keywords like AI in education. I'm going to use natural language processing because it is there, machine learning for student engagement, intelligent tutoring system. All these are keywords that I can use to search for literature that are related to the topic I'm interested in. So if I'm talking of challenges, I can use barriers. I can use alternative work like ethical issues. I can use privacy. I can use what? Equity. And if I want to search on the impact of AI in education, I can use effect. I can use influence. I can use what? Outcomes, student engagement, teaching effectiveness. All these can be used. So define clear keywords. And please, I remember that one day I sent a paper for review, and one of my literature review, and the researcher asked me a very interesting question. The researcher asked me that, so after defining my researcher defined keywords, did I try to find other keywords that are related to my keywords also? And you can do this at that point. I've not done that. So the person draw my attention to it. You can do that with Google Trends. You know, if you go to Google Trends, you can type a word and use it to find related words. We can illustrate that. So you go to Google Trend, type a word, and ask Google Trend what are the, go for related words, and it will give you related words. So I have to come back, pick all the related words from Google Trend, and also use it to search again to increase the literature scope, because the reviewer was of the view that the 10 keywords that we define is not comprehensive enough. So very important. Okay. So after your keywords, so now another exercise on your topic, define 6 keywords, outline 6 keywords that you think that they are closely related. Do you think that these keywords mimic your research topic, reflect your research questions? Very important. Keywords, 6 keywords. So I'll wait for everyone to define your 6 keywords. Are we there? You can put your keywords in the chat. Okay. This is my screen showing. Let me be sure. Yeah. So after you define your keywords, you have to look for where are you going to search for your document or your papers, the databases, the search engines. You can use Scopus, you can use ACM, you can use Web of Science, you can use IEEE, you can use PubMed. If you want to use search engines, you can use Google Scholar, Microsoft Academy. You can also use Base, or you can use what? Systematic Scholar. So all these are very good frameworks, good for your keywords. Akithi, thank you. Selassie. So all these databases or search engine that you can use, but I normally recommend people using Google Scholar. Not that I'm biased, but I think the Google Scholar gives opportunity for you to get papers that are indexed in several databases. Remember that any decision you make, you must explain. So I've gotten a reviewer before where he asked me, why did you use this database and not the other database? Yeah, because remember, we don't want to be biased. So why are you using Scopus and not using IEEE? Because some papers are indexed in IEEE, they are not indexed in Scopus. Some papers are indexed in ACM Digital Library, but they are not in what? Web of Science. Likewise, some are in Web of Science, they are not in. But if you use Scopus, it gives you all the papers that are what? Indexed across this different database. So I see that using Google Scholar, it is more less bias if you use Google Scholar, because you're going to have access to numerous papers across different databases. Because if you use only Scopus, it is only the papers that are indexed in Scopus that you're going to get. Likewise, ACM, likewise, Web of Science, and likewise, IEEE. So it is very important when selecting the search engine or the database that you want to search your work, you have to get justification for it. If I'm doing bibliometric analysis, I use either Scopus or I use other ones that I know that can be done. But I've seen people also doing bibliometric and they are using what? How do you call it? Google Scholar. For bibliometric, Scopus and the other ones make it more easier, more efficient. But for systematic literature review, I always say that using Google Scholar to search for your papers is the best because it gives you a wider scope. So now let's see how we can search. If you can open the, I just want us all to, so I'm going to exit this screen from here. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I will use, I will open a web page. So let's all open a web page, a browser, and let's go to Google. So let me share my browser and let's go to Google Scholar and do the sharing. Open the document I gave you online. Please download the PowerPoint. And then we are going to copy each of the search strategies I've outlined there and use them. So let me see my browser. So I'll go to, please, is my browser visible? Can you see my browser?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's all move to Google Scholar. I just wanted to experience something and I will ask questions. So please take part of what we are doing. First, copy the search strategy one. The first one, the basic query, and paste everything like that in Google Scholar. So I'm going there. I'm going to paste everything here. Is my screen visible? And click here, search. Now count the number of papers we've gotten. How many papers do you see on my screen per the results?
The screen is too bright.
It's Blair?
Yes.
4 papers.
I can see 4 papers.
Oh, it's more than 4. Okay, so everybody should also pick the same words and paste it in your Google Scholar and check
Sir,
the
like I
number.
said, yeah, some of you photocopy.
I think it's about 4 million.
4 million. It's 4,870,000. Can we copy the? Okay, let me paste the thing in this link for you here. I think that one will help you. So let me copy the text. That's the basic search. And paste it in the text for everybody to practice. I want everybody to do this and let's see. Okay, so copy only the keywords and paste it in your Google Scholar and tell me what you are also seeing. Only the keywords. Artificial intelligence. So we are using basic OR operator to break the keywords. So we are saying that search the entire database, look for any paper that has any of these words in them. Has anybody tried from your end?
Yes, Prof. I've done it, but I'm getting 7,000 something. So I'm wondering why you are getting 4 million. I'm getting 7 something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
I'm
me
starting anyway.
yeah, let me see if I've searched my I'm searching by relevance, but I've not restricted the date. Yeah, that is funny. Yeah.
From my
Yeah,
Okay.
mine
end,
do the same by relevance.
Yeah, okay.
I had 4,909 something.
Yeah, you have even more than that, more than me. Yeah, that is funny. We are searching from different places. We are getting so many different things. Okay, so we can also, if you look at Google Scholar, remember that we said we are searching with what papers that are published from when? 2015. So we can go here and limit the range from 2015. So go there, put the limit on 2015 and search again.
Now, you link, you know,
Copy the text from the chat, only the keywords, and paste it in Google Scholar. Let me give you Google Scholar. So this is the Google Scholar link. I'll paste that also in the link. Okay, now let's search with the modified keywords using refined search strategy. And let's see how many papers. So copy this and put here in the search. So copy the keywords again for the second one and paste it in your browser. Make sure all the parentheses comes, please. The parentheses are part of the search strategy. Now, mine has reduced what? 17,800. What is yours? Has it reduced or has it increased?
Yeah, I also have 17, the same figure as yours. Yeah.
Yeah. So what has happened? Has it reduced or has it increased?
It has reduced.
Yes, very important. You see that if you look at this one now, we are making it very difficult for any paper that has less than 3 keywords to appear. So we have the first keywords bracket, we put them in a bracket, and we put the next keywords or and. So it means that every paper that pop-ups here should have at least 3 of our defined keywords. And that is why we say we want to know all the steps that you took in your search, because we want to make it reproducible. So you can say that for the first phase, so if I want to stay here and download the papers, it means that I will write in my report that papers with less than 3 of the defined keywords were not what? Included in the downloads. So if somebody wants to replicate my work, it means that the person have to use the same what? Search approach that I use. So I can decide to, you can decide to click on the papers by clicking on save. If you are here, you can click save here, and Google will give you opportunity like to add a new, you can click here and add a new, let's say subfolder. For example, maybe if you want to say, let me say AI. I've done a folder, so I want to do another AI in education application. Just want to make it different. Application. And then it goes in there. I can click here and then I will save. It goes in there. I can click here and I will save. And so I am saving my papers. I've not yet downloaded them. I'm saving. And when I come to my profile here and go to my library, I will see all the papers I've saved, and I can download them, export it as what? A CSV file for further analysis. And remember, this is the search query I use. Are we there? Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, I want to know you are with me. Now let's search the last one and see what happens. So we are going to pick the last one and search with the last word, the last key, the truncation. Yeah. So I've defined for you several search approaches. The more difficult your search strategy is, the better you get papers that are highly related with what you are doing. So let's use this search again. I've pasted in the text. Search again with these keywords, and let me see how many papers you are going to get. Everyone try. Now let's include synonyms. So for example, if I did use Google Trend to find more related words, I can use the synonyms to find more papers in the area. This is giving me opportunity to get broader studies. I don't want to be biased in my selection. I want to give opportunity to every study to be captured based on my inclusion and exclusion criteria. So you can use all of these search strategies and tell me if you are seeing anything that you think we can discuss. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so let's move on. So now, let's go back to the PPT and then share the screen again from there.
Hello, Prof.
Yeah.
Please, is it possible to show us how we can use the Google Trend to search for more keywords?
Okay, I'm coming. Let me share where was with the browser. Okay. So just go to type here. Let me go to Google Trends and go there. And let's say I want to do this keywords, machine learn. Oh, typing faster than I'm. Machine learning in AI. Oh, machine learning education. Yeah, sorry. So when you type this search term here, Google will search the entire globe. You can, this is the past days. I can go here and make it from past 2014. I don't like Romania. I want the entire world. So I'll go to world and search for it to get to world. I can put another word here like educational technology. You can add more words here if you want. Then you come down here. Related query. So it says there's no related query here, but if there's related, it will give you those related queries here. It will give you if they are related. Related queries are here. That is here. So people are searching educational technology instead of, and people also are searching need for educational technology. People are, so all the times you give, it will give you what this related query is not showing. Says search doesn't have enough for data. So let me put a data, for example, this one, cybersecurity, I know, or machine learning will get more data. So if you put in and they are related, if there are more data, Google is using more data to make those analysis. So if there are more data, to give you those ones to, let me use this one word and illustrate that if we have more data to show to us. Yeah, so you see, instead of machine learning, people are talking about deep learning. So I can use, instead of machine learning, I can use deep learning as a term. Right, that is what I mean. And people are also talking about data science. So if you, it's a very long list, but most of the time it gives you only just the first five. You can click on it here to see more related queries that are here. Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go to the steps. So we are still in our steps. Okay. So now we have done the search. We have downloaded all the papers, and now we want to work on the papers. So we can use Mendeley for the papers. We can use Mendeley to store all the papers. How many of us know how to use Mendeley? Is a reference management, or they have for other one, EndNote, Zotero. There are so many of them, but the one I like using most is Mendeley because I find it easy to use. So next is following the steps. How many papers did you get from your Google search? Tell us how many papers. So we use what? A flow chart to represent. So this represents the number of papers that were identified from the databases. Like, remember I used the Google search. If I want to download the paper, it'll point me to where the paper is. It can be from IEEE, it can be from Scopus, it can be that, so here you tell us the total number of papers that were downloaded. Now, additional sources. What were the number of papers that you had from different sources? Maybe you had some published, unpublished document, probably that your supervisor gave to you to use, or you had from the library, all those things. So you put all of them together. Now from here, you can see there's a box here representing a duplicate. So of the 109, if you are using Mendeley and you load all the papers into Mendeley, you can just go and select duplicate, and Mendeley will tell you the number of duplicates in the papers, and then you can exclude those ones. So tell us, were they duplicates? If they were duplicate, how many of them? So these are the records afterward. Duplication moving. So then the 11 plus this minus 21 we get here. Identification stage. Then we come to the screening. So what were the screening phases? So the first screening, we excluded 15 records. Study not related to electrical energy. Publishing language not in English. So this person defined exclusion criteria that if the paper is not published in English, they're going to remove it. If the paper has nothing to do with electrical energy, they're going to remove it. Then they come to what? Full test screening. So they excluded 7 and publication before. So somebody, you can even decide to put this part of screening here also. So they decided to break it down. Then they came to publications that were published before 2010 and publications that overlaps. So you can see that overlap is what? 2, and then before is what? 5. So you subtract 7 from 99, and then this is the remaining they have. So you can see how systematically they are reporting how the screening was done. Then they come to what? Studies excluded from what? Qualitative synthesis. So they excluded 10. So they excluded 10 from what? The qualitative. So what it means is that they're going to do the number of papers they had. They probably frequency. They're going to do frequency table. They're going to do, so they want to say that papers that were probably literature review were removed. So they decided to remove 9 papers that were 10 papers that were literature review, and then remaining what? 67. So the actual number of papers that went through or they used in their systematic literature review is 7. But if you go to their reference, you will see 77 because they've made it clear here. And this paper was was myself and my students and my mentor that we did this paper in 2020. You can have it free. I've put it in the link for you to have access on the GitHub repository. Then this is another way you can also represent. So don't forget, there is not one diagram that everybody has to draw that diagram for the Prisma flowchart. The Prisma flowchart gives you the idea from identification, don't forget, from screening, eligibility, and inclusion. So you can always modify the diagram anyhow you want it. So in this way, look at how we represented it. We said we defined these keywords, went to the internet, we searched from what? Scopus, and these were the papers. So you can say this strictly says that the search was done in corpus. Then we had this number of records. Then after screening, what do we do here? Papers published not in English. This number was removed. Papers not journal or conference. This was removed. So if you subtract these 2 additions from this was the leftover. Then we come to what? Second phase of screening. Papers in press. So some papers have been accepted. They are journal papers, but they are in press. They are now what? working on editorial decisions are being made, and type settings. So we decided to remove those papers because we feel like changes can be made still on those papers. Then we come to what? Papers with what? Subject area not in healthcare. So some papers escape, but their subject area were not in healthcare. And then records. So after you can say this is the number of records that were what? Left. So please, when it comes to the screening, this is another way that we use a pictorial view to explain how the Prisma diagram was applied. So tell us all the stages as you are going through the various stages, the number of papers that were removed, the remaining ones that were pushed to the next stage, and the criteria. So if you look at this also, we applied here. We said that for the first papers, all the papers, exclusion criteria was applied. Then we came back to a title. We look at the title because the paper we have a lot of papers also. So we look at the title, the abstract, and then the keywords also. If it doesn't fall in any of the keywords we're looking for, maybe maximum of 3 or 4, we drop you. If we see that there's a literature review in your title, we drop you. So then we came to an abstract. So you can see that we are documenting all the processes and the papers that were removed. And there's another paper on systematic literature review that we also did. And you can see that it is documenting the process. So as you can see, there's no one-way diagram to fit all. It's you using a flow chart, block diagrams to explain and documenting your inclusion, your identification first, your screening, your eligibility, your inclusion. So all those processes trying to what? Explain them. So our time is fast spent. We will end here, but as you prepare to come, hopefully on Wednesday, what I want you to do is based on your research topic that you chose and the research questions and the keywords you've defined, search Google and then identify 10 papers that you will include in your research and 10 papers that you will not include in your research. Put them nicely in a Word document, and when we meet on Wednesday, we'll fix some time to review and you give a justification why you rejected those papers and justification why you included those papers. So thank you all, and I will hand over to Professor Adekoya. So, and I'll see you Wednesday, same time, for us to apply the next phases of analyzing the paper, looking for trend, doing quality check, and the rest. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Prof, are you there? I think, please, is any of the organizing team around? Okay, then I guess we have to. I have to be the one to close you all. So, bye bye, and see you again.
All right,
Thank
bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you, sir.
It seems our facilitator is out. Let me reach across to you so that you can come back and round up, and then we'll continue on. We'll continue on Wednesday. But in the meantime, please try and complete the attendance sheets. Yes, Professor, you are not done. So please, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation. We'll continue on Wednesday by God's grace, same time. And I do hope we will have you here and try to tell your colleagues the seminar is free. And I believe that you have enjoyed today's quiz. I don't know whether you have a comment or you have a question. You can go ahead to raise if you have any. Other than that, we'll call it a good day and then on Wednesday. Excuse me, please. Okay, thank you. See you on Wednesday.